Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Verity Seeker, and I'm your host, Mark Powles, and I have a very special guest with me today, candidate for U.S. Senate, Kansas, representing Kansas, Joan Farr. Did I pronounce that correctly, Joan?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're from Derby, Kansas. Would you mind telling the viewers out there a little bit about yourself, maybe a bit about your family and what you do over there, and
Well, sure.
kind of fill us in?
Yeah, I've actually lived in the Wichita, Kansas area for 58 years. I was born in Wiesbaden, Germany. My father was a fighter pilot. He served 22 years in 3 wars. My mother was a court reporter and a legal secretary, mostly for the government, for 46 years. Anyway, we were stationed at McConnell Air Force Base in Wichita when I was 9. My father was killed a year later in Vietnam. And then she decided to build a house here and raise her children. That's what she did. I graduated with a bachelor and master's degree in administration of justice from Wichita State University. I then took a tour of Europe. Altogether, I have visited all 50 states and 30 foreign countries, including Israel. Just love to travel. I worked 2 years on the Wichita Police Department. I then worked 17 years at Boeing, first in security and then in purchasing. I was granted a secret clearance to work on Air Force One from 1986 to 1990. I left Boeing in 1999. Wanted to stay home with my children, my 4 sons. My husband and I started building houses. Just he and I together did that for 6 years. Also started a nonprofit organization called the Association for Honest Attorneys. We were going to try and help people find honest lawyers. None would join us, however. So as it turned out, we ended up helping people sue lawyers who were denying them due process of law under the Fifth Amendment. There was quite a bit of fraud going on in the legal system, especially in Kansas. So that's what I did. I've been doing that nonprofit work I did for 16 years. For the last 11 years, I've been a pre-litigation consultant. I try and resolve disputes before they turn into lawsuits, according to the Bible. This is the 5th time I've run for office. I ran for the Board of Education in 2005 in Derby. I ran for Kansas governor in 2010. And I relocated my business to Oklahoma in 2013. So I have run 3 times there now for United States Senate.
Wow. That's pretty extensive. To the best of your understanding of the constitutional role and purpose of the U.S. Senate, does a senator represent the people of a state or the state as a whole as it pertains to the enumerated duties of the Senate?
Well, I would say the state as a whole as it pertains to the enumerated duties of the Senate, because a state senator would represent the state of Kansas. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Passed by Congress on May 13th, 1912. Sounds like some kind of quiz or something, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
1912.
Okay.
And ratified on April 8th, 1913, the 17th Amendment modified Article 1, Section 3 of the Constitution to allow U.S. senators to be elected by the people directly. Prior to this passage, senators senators were chosen by the state legislatures. If the states called an Article 5 Convention of States and proposed to repeal the 17th Amendment, would you agree with its repeal?
No, I would not. They should be elected by the people.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah.
By popular vote.
Yes.
Okay. Let's go back to the 2020 re-election of President Donald J. Trump. Did he win that election or not?
He absolutely won the election. There's no question. There was a huge amount of fraud going on there. And I know this because I've been helping people for the last 19 years file conspiracy fraud lawsuits against the system, against lawyers, judges, courts, police, whatever, who have been defrauded. So I know that it goes on. And I think it was pretty evident that night that that's what was happening. And so definitely, he won.
Okay, why do you feel that your opponent now I'm jumping around and I
Okay,
apologize for that, but I think it works better this way.
that's
Why do you
okay.
feel that your opponent needs to be replaced and you are the most qualified candidate to fill that void if he were to be removed?
Well, I think that all career politicians are deep state, and I think they all need to be voted out. And I am not wealthy, not a lawyer, not a career politician. Um, I think we need more women, more Christians, and more regular people in office, or we are not truly represented in Congress. And so I think because I have those qualities, I am better suited for it than he is.
Well, so what is a woman?
What is it? It's a female person. Now, come on. You know, it has to do with what you're born with. And so, so to me, that's the restroom you use. I'm sorry. I don't care what you do to yourself. That's
I'm
that's
sorry, Joan, I had to ask the question. You baited me on that one. I'm
that's
sorry.
okay. Go
Okay.
right ahead.
All right, I'm moving forward.
Okay.
I had to do it. Okay, good answer, though. Good answer. The United States has been fighting undeclared, unconstitutional wars for decades. When is a war legitimately declared, and by what branch of the US government has that power? The president or the US Congress?
Okay. The War Powers Act of 1949 declared that the president would decide when we go to war. And then it was revised, I think, in 1973, so that the president and Congress decide when we go to war. I'm sorry, we need to revise it again. The president, the Congress, and the people get to vote before we ever go to war again, because you just can't trust them. I'm sorry, you can't. I think it should be put to a vote before we ever go to war again, and the people should be allowed to vote, you know.
Yep. Yeah, definitely there is the issue there with presidents unilaterally
Mhm, mhm.
conducting these wars without
Right.
it officially being declared by Congress. And that's
Mhm.
what we've been doing. It's the
Right.
president,
Right.
the king or future queen of the United States of America. And we fought a we fought a war for our independence from that kind of stuff. And here we
Uh-huh. Yeah, here we are. I agree. Ugh.
are. Can a US president create foreign treaties unilaterally by him or herself without Congress?
I think the president has the power to make treaties if 2/3 of the Senate uh, concurs, is my understanding. So,
Yeah, they have to be involved. Yeah, you got, yeah.
mhm.
Okay, we're currently sending enormous amounts of money to Ukraine. Is it right for the US Congress to defend Ukraine and fund it? Or do you think the real problem is the deep state or corrupt individuals serving in US Congress? I put that in, that's my opinion.
I know,
So,
I bet you did, yeah. You know, $41 billion is what I understand we gave Ukraine, and that is an excessive amount of money when we need to be putting America first, not, you know, we can give some assistance to our allies, but that is exceedingly, you know, just over and above what we should be doing, if you ask me. And it's my understanding that when certain members of Congress vote that in, well, then they get kickbacks somehow, is what I was told. I don't know if that's true. I'm just like, that's unbelievable. So,
yeah, who knows exactly what goes on there behind the
you
curtain?
know, I'd like to be on the appropriations committee. I want to see where the money goes, you know, and that's one of the committees I would like to be on. So,
You might learn too much and they may have to kill you.
yeah, I think, yeah, that'll be the,
I didn't say
they
that.
don't want me there. They don't want me there.
Oh man. Okay, now here's some people have asked this question, and I've often wondered too,
Yeah.
is Putin and the Russian people really our enemy, or is it the enemy embedded in the US general government? Is it right here?
You know,
What do you think? What's your opinion?
well, what, you know, that old saying, we have met the enemy and he is us. And there are deep state members, and and again, what I've learned and what I believe is true is that all career politicians and the wealthy elite, they're members of secret societies like, the Bilderbergers, the Freemasons, the Trilateral Commission, Skull and Bone, and they're loyal to them. They're satanic societies. And I've read some of their doctrine. It says it's okay to lie and kill innocent people and hide it from the public. And if Agenda 21/30 is to reduce the Earth's population from 7 billion down to 500 million, then they are discreetly, through wars, abortion, tainted food and medicine, disease, drone targeting, weather interference, they are trying to reduce the population. And I'm sorry, we're a Christian nation. Only God should decide who lives and who dies. It's not up to men and in some cases, a few women who are making that decision. So that UN directive was passed in 1992. That was 30 years ago. They banned it in Oklahoma. They need to ban it in Kansas and every state, if you ask me. So that's
okay.
Yeah.
Is the U.S. general government salvageable, or should it be dissolved by mass secession of states through state nullification or Article 5 convention led by state legislatures?
No, we are salvageable. We are, and united we stand, divided we fall. We cannot have anyone secede from, our union. We can't. And so, I heard recently that President Trump is working on, I think he calls it Trump 25. So when he gets back in, then he's trying to basically overhaul the DOJ, the FBI, and replace people in government with people who are not so money oriented. I think that's the main problem we're having is, the Bible says you can't serve God and money. Well, the majority of people in the United States serve God, and that's because 83% believe in God and 70% believe or profess to be Christian. So, the majority of us, we serve God, but the majority of people in Congress serve money. And so we have to get more people in Congress that serve God and want to serve the people. And so.
Okay. Should a president,
What?
Well, should a president submit a budget to Congress, or should budgets originate and be set up by the U.S. Congress? How do you think that should work? We kind of know how it works. A lot of times the president submits the budget like a CEO of a corporation, but which way are we supposed to do this in your opinion?
Well, that's something I would need to be involved in so I can see just exactly how it comes to pass. But, it would seem to me that the United States Congress could propose a budget, but I'm almost afraid if they did, too many cooks spoil the broth, and so I'm not sure they could come to an agreement. So, I guess it just takes a lot of tweaking, whichever side would propose it. And
okay. Has the Congress punted all of its enumerated duties to a U.S. president?
I don't think so. Sorry, my phone's on. No, I don't think they have. I would hope they haven't.
Okay.
They have a job to do. They need to do it,
Okay. The U.S. Senate represents the state of Kansas as a whole, and just like you said, in matters of foreign affairs, interstate commerce, and the overall security of our union. Is the WHO, that'd be the World Health Organization, and the United Nations, a threat to the security of our union? If so, could you explain it?
Well, I think I explained a little bit earlier about the UN directive, Agenda 21/30, and yes, I think the United Nations is a threat. And, if we can't ban that New World Order directive, then we need to dissolve the UN because they are a threat, and also the World Health Organization. Yes, I believe so.
Okay. What do you know about, I mean, for the folks out there, there's a lot of people out there that have never heard of the United Nations Agenda 21, which has already passed, and they've pretty much met their goals, or 2030. What would you say to those people in a nutshell, what's going on?
Okay, Agenda 21 is a UN directive that was initiated by President George Bush Sr. in, I believe, 1992. It was then implemented by Bill Clinton. It was then carried out by George Bush Jr. and then Obama. And it is sustainable development and population control. And that's what I was talking about earlier, where they're seeking to reduce the Earth's population. And so they do this a number of ways. And as I mentioned before, wars, abortion, tainted food and medicine, disease, drone targeting, weather interference, chemtrails, national security letters. If you have a national security letter issued against you, this puts you on the terrorist watch list. And I don't know how many people have come to me over the years, and the only way to get off of it is a lawsuit. Well, no lawyer will represent them. And so it is to try and drive you to suicide is what it is. And so anybody, I know women, all they did was date someone in government. And when they broke up, they didn't like it. So they had a national security letter issued against them. And I'm not talking about a no-fly list. They hack your computer, they get into your phone, they follow you, they go after your children, they'll bring false charges against them, they'll get in your bank account. They'll try to drive you under financially until you just can't take it anymore and you commit suicide. And I was actually told that in 2006. I was part of a government study to see how much stress a person could go through before they commit suicide. And they were studying 16 people. They had all committed suicide except for me. And I was told that by who I believe was a CIA operative here in the Wichita, Kansas area. And he later ran for office here. That's another thing the deep state is doing. As the career politicians are leaving the office, they are trying to replace themselves with CIA, NSA members that are loyal to them and will carry on their agenda. So it's
Boy,
quite a deal. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. People like George Soros and others have promised to destroy the United States and openly fund organizations and domestic terrorist groups to destroy the Union from within. Is George Soros a criminal to the United States of America and a declared combatant to the United States of America and its form of self-governance?
Well, I had a lawyer tell me years ago, if you're going to sue someone now, if there are evidence of their crimes and it's strong evidence, they should be arrested, they should be tried. I don't care who it is, but definitely, if he has evidence of treason against him, he should be tried for that. And
okay. As Nancy Pelosi exceeded her constitutional power in government and at times violated the separation of powers, what would you do?
I don't think it's just Nancy Pelosi. I've seen those who have violated separation of powers, not just her. I haven't really honed in on everything that she's done. I can't really speak to that. I haven't been following her, specifically. So
she's become very wealthy.
Yes, well, definitely. I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that for sure.
We have the coup against a sitting president. And upon January 6th, we now have political prisoners.
Right.
Many of who are not guilty of anything.
Right. Yes. I heard that one person just committed suicide. Again, I guess there's two people now, and they're facing these horrendous charges and fines and such. This is just an outrage. It's to me, there are so many laws being broken here. I just can't even fathom. I've seen so much fraud just in Kansas alone in the legal system that this is just amazing to me. But it goes back kind of to what the Bible says. during the end times, what is bad will appear good and what is good will appear bad. And that's what's going on here. So, these people, they need to be pardoned. I wish President Trump would get back in right now. I think we talked about that earlier. If he filled out a Form 95, I think he could force Biden's resignation and get back in immediately. And we can't wait 2 years. I think we need him now and pardon those people.
Yeah, I'm going to have to look at that form. That was something I wasn't familiar with.
It's just a 2-page form. And even if it's denied, then you have 6 months to file a federal lawsuit. Well, of course, he'll file it immediately, but he has to have the right claims and sue the right people. So it would be Biden, the DNC, the DOJ, the lawyers, the judges who denied his cases. They denied him due process of law, and he has a personal injury claim. So it's just a 2-page form, but if it's denied, he immediately files a federal suit. If they dismiss it, he can appeal straight to the United States Supreme Court and it will be heard. Why? Because they only hear cases of imperative public importance. And so that's why he could get in right now if he would even see. I don't think lawyers are telling him the truth. And the 64 cases that he had before, those were all mainly to ask for recounts in the various states, but they weren't for the right claims. And so they all got dismissed. So I think a lot of lawyers just want to make money off of him. If you want to know, that's my opinion anyway.
How will you handle special interest groups and lobbyists if elected to represent the state of Kansas as a U.S. senator? How will you handle them? Because they're there all over.
Yes. Now, again, I'm a true Christian. I serve God, not money, and I can't be bought. So, unless it is something that will benefit the majority of people in Kansas. I think that we're passing too many laws. They are restricting our freedoms. And so, as far as I'm concerned, live your life however you want to. Live and let live. But we don't need to be passing all these laws for, the 2 to 3% of the population or of, the people in Kansas. It's just, I want to live free. I don't know about you, but that's what America's supposed to be about.
Yeah. Do U.S. Supreme Court justices present opinion or rulings?
Well, they probably do both. I've now helped take 12 cases to the United States Supreme Court. And, when it gets that high, they probably have about 12,000 requests a year. They only they heard 64 cases last time. And then 72 the year before. But see, they're not doing their job. And that's less than 1%. And there's a lot of people not getting justice. So I think, I'm not saying that I'm in favor of stacking the court, but something's got to light a fire under them to get them to, hear more cases. Or maybe they wouldn't even need to hear them if we had the legal system was overhauled. And that's what I've been trying to do. I have a method that's been on my website for 19 years now.
Yeah. Well, do you feel like, though, that when they make a decision on any particular case, that it becomes binding on the entire union, or that it becomes somehow a law like Roe v. Wade? See, I've always known that there was never a law. There was never anything protecting the institution of abortion. It was just a decision. And how can it be legally binding on the rest of the union?
It just seems like that's how it goes. But, I was touching earlier on how Kansas has passed an illegal law in, I think it was 2015. They passed a law that said, you cannot help anybody with a legal matter unless you work for a lawyer or you work for the state. Well, that's illegal. Why? Because there's 18 cases all the way up to the Supreme Court that say anyone can help a person with a legal matter, as long as you don't present yourself as a lawyer and you don't take a fee. So that goes against the United States Supreme Court decisions. And I don't know how they get by with it, except, again, I don't think we fall under the Constitution and we have no rights here. So.
Now, I got to ask a question. This is not on my outline here, but we're kind of treading in a different territory. So I know that the U.S. Supreme Court is supreme over its lower courts, its inferior courts.
Mhm.
And, you know, the US general government has its enumerated jurisdiction, and the states are sovereign countries. Um,
Sovereign states, you mean? Oh,
States, yeah, they're
yeah,
sovereign
yeah,
countries. They're just voluntarily part of a union, a united compact, just like any
right.
other contract would be, except it's with sovereign entities, sovereign governments.
Mhm.
Now, do you believe that the US Supreme Court has the ability to perform a negative on a state court or a state legislature, and against their own constitutions, because states have their own constitutions, and they retain all powers not delegated to the US general government, which is limited. So do you feel like the Supreme Court can overrule, that's what you know, if they perform a negative, in other words, overrule what the state courts or the legislature decide? Do you believe that that's the case?
Well, again, I've helped people take cases now all the way to the Supreme Court, and they are deciding, they are determining if laws are in dispute or, whether they're constitutional. So, uh, if you're not aware, if you have a federal lawsuit, you file it, let's say, and it gets dismissed. Well, then you appeal it to the 10th Circuit in Denver. It's all done by mail, pretty much. If they dismiss there, then your next step is United States Supreme Court to try to get justice. And that takes about a year and a half, if it goes quickly. But, yes, they have the ability to overturn something that a state decides. And, again, I just pointed out a law that Kansas, like if I were to file a lawsuit and say this is an illegal law, the United States, they could, yes, overturn that decision, because that case to me it's totally illegal, because it does not fall in line with 18 cases that have already been decided by the United States Supreme Court. Anyone can help a person with a legal matter. But they have made it in Kansas such that you can only help them if you're working for a lawyer or you're working for the state. And so that's just wrong. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So they would have to overturn that. And I haven't disputed it yet, but I could.
Okay. I was going to read Article 3, which
Mhm.
is part of the deals with the judicial branch of the US government. And this is not the whole thing, it's just Section 1, the vesting clause. And then I have a question on it.
Okay.
The judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court and in such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. So the people out there viewing this need to know that the Congress, establishes the inferior courts if they so choose, or they can abolish them if they want. The judges, both of the Supreme and inferior courts, shall hold their offices during good behavior. I read that paragraph because a lot of people say, oh, the Supreme Court justices have lifetime appointments. But it says right here, shall hold their offices during good behavior. Now, I'm going to move on, and then I'm going to ask you this question. Do
Okay.
you know of any of the 9 US Supreme Court justices that should be impeached by the Congress on bad behavior, which would include political activism and anti-constitutional ideologies on the bench?
No, I don't see any of that. I haven't looked into all of their backgrounds, but I'm sure that they would have caught that when they were being vetted. So are you saying if this was something way in their past, like when they were young,
No,
or?
I just sometimes they're if you want to call it a ruling, I call it judicial opinion is what they should do,
Mhm,
should be referred to as. But some of their opinions on the Supreme Court justices,
mhm.
with the exception of Gorsuch. Gorsuch is the only originalist that I know of on that court.
Mhm.
But sometimes they don't study original documents that support the Constitution that they're trying to interpret, and sometimes they come up with some really crazy ideas. For
Mhm.
instance, Roberts calling Obamacare a tax,
Mhm.
and then that becoming binding on all states in the union somehow magically. It became the law of the land.
Hmm.
Uh,
I don't
I
know.
guess,
I guess I'm not up on that entirely. But as far as, it says good behavior, they're there for life now. I mean, unless something changes, unless they decide, there's a cutoff on the age limit, but they have
okay.
not done that yet. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Um, was it within the jurisdiction of the U.S. Supreme Court to hear the case of Roe v. Wade in 1973? Was it
You know,
constitutionally in their jurisdiction to hear that case, or was it a state issue
you
left
know,
up to the state courts?
all I know is, they never should have heard it, in my opinion. I think that, the topics of abortion, LGBTQ, that kind of thing, you can't legislate morality. They should not even be
Yeah.
topics for discussion, get them out. Just, if we could overhaul the legal system, I would just remove those laws altogether. It's just so divisive, and that's that's my feeling about it. It never should have gone into law.
Okay, yeah, so then you would agree with the US Supreme Court's nullification. That's what they did. They
Yeah,
basically nullified Roe
yes,
v. Wade
absolutely.
decision.
Yes,
It finally admitted that it was an unconstitutional
I agree. Totally.
thing. Threw
Yes.
it back to the states where it belongs.
Yep. Yep.
Now it's up to the states to make that moral decision, which,
To me, I sometimes think, if you're going to throw it back to the states should just, be done with it, just not legislate it. I wish that it was just not even a topic. Like I said, it's unfortunate that it is, but it is.
well, the
Yeah.
state's constitution, the First Amendment, we have 20 uh, declarations in our Bill of Rights, and the First Amendment guarantees the protection
Mhm.
of life,
Mhm.
liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I understand what you're saying. I think whenever the government begins to legislate morality,
Right.
it should be left up to the church.
Mhm.
Oh my goodness, we get into all sorts of messy places.
Yeah. Well, I
Uh,
mean, it's between you and God, what you decide to do in your life. And, I don't think the government should have any say in it. It's, you know, even before Roe v. Wade, women were getting abortions anyway. They went to doctors or however that it was done, it was still done, And, but again, I just wish it wasn't out there. I wish it wasn't something that everybody's all up in arms about. So,
okay. Are there any U.S. senators serving now in the District of Columbia that you would generally align with if elected to the office of U.S. Senate? Anybody that you
oh
really
yeah,
align with?
oh yes. Senator Rand Paul, Senator James Langford out of Oklahoma is a former pastor. Um, Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri. Uh, those three for sure. I know I would align with.
Okay.
Mhm.
If elected to the U.S. Senate, would you fight to release the January 6th political prisoners as soon as possible?
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. That
If elected, would you vote for the impeachment of Joe Biden if the U.S. lower house delivered his impeachment to the Senate?
I would have to. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
In accordance with the original historical understanding of natural born citizen, did Kamala Harris meet the natural born citizen requirement for her current office?
I don't know. I did not research that. I'm assuming you have the answer to that.
It was
Yep.
hard to find because you had to go back so far and understand uh, English and British history and customs and traditions to understand
Mhm.
what the founders meant by natural born citizen.
Uh-huh.
They took it for granted that people would understand in modern times,
Uh-huh.
and to their fault,
Uh-huh.
they didn't explain it.
Mm,
But
it's a great.
the problem with a president who has a bias growing up as a child with two parents
Mhm.
that do not have US citizenship. Both Kamala Harris's parents were not citizens of the United States. They were
Right.
here, but they weren't citizens of the United States, which is a requirement. The president is a foreign ambassador on
Mhm.
behalf of the states in the union, and they did not want
Mhm.
any form of bias in the presidency whatsoever. She's
I
fine
believe
in
it.
the
Yeah.
Senate, but
Uh-huh.
presidency, no, because of the job. And they feel like it might get us into wars
Uh-huh.
unnecessarily because of their foreign bias to a particular
Mhm.
country or
Right.
nation. That was
Uh-huh.
what I found when I did my research.
Mhm.
But anyway, you don't have to agree with that. It's just something I always want to ask, because
Well,
I,
no, I would agree. I would agree with that. I wasn't real clear on her parents and all of her background, so that's why I couldn't really answer it
yeah,
directly.
and not many people do. I was concerned, so I just took the time,
Mhm.
and it takes time. And nobody believes you. Trust
Yeah.
me, nobody
Well,
believes
I,
you.
I get it sometimes because I was born in Wiesbaden, Germany, even though my
Yeah,
father was in the Air Force, and I have American parents, but and we lived there until I was 9. So, but
but
I
that, but
am
that's
American
the
citizen.
thing, is
Yeah,
they don't care what soil you're born on.
yeah.
They want to make sure that your parents are US citizens
Uh-huh.
as you
Well,
grow up.
that
It's
is important.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it a constitutional requirement for the US Congress to balance its budget every year?
Well, it needs to balance.
I
It
think
just
it's a
needs to.
requirement.
I mean, I can't believe how much we're in debt. What is it?
Yes.
30 trillion now? I mean, come on. We've got to make some major changes. That's why I was suggesting the consolidation of 18 national security agencies. A lot of money can be saved, and
Yeah.
I think that should be done.
So
That would help balance it immensely. Mhm.
you believe, like Calvin Coolidge did, you believe that you can actually balance the budget and cut the government
Uh-huh.
and get us back on track. You believe that's possible?
I do. I do it all the time in my own life. I mean, I've had to
Yes.
learn what's creative financing is all about.
Oh,
Yeah.
what is the constitutional requirement for currency in the United States? Is it gold, silver, iron, or Federal Reserve notes?
Well, I think the Constitution says gold and silver is, I had to look that one up because, I never really thought about it. So I was like,
It's still
okay,
in there.
I
It's
know, I
amazing, isn't it?
know. Yeah.
Oh man.
Just
But
make some more money if you need it. Just make more paper
yeah,
money.
if you were to name one US president that really obeyed his oath of office to the Constitution
Hmm.
and recognized, state sovereignty, uh, the best, which president would you pick of all the presidents?
Well, I've always admired Abraham Lincoln. He's always, to me, and I think to a lot of people, he is the example that we should all follow. And he always kept a copy of the Constitution and the Bible at his desk for reference. And, I think that's what made him the greatest president. And so uh, I would say it would have to be him for that reason.
Okay. What do you think happened on 9/11, 2001? And do you believe the most recent emergencies are just different phases in a continual plan to usher all nations, countries, or in our case, a union, under the world control of a world order?
A New World Order, yes. Um, okay, I did research on my father's death for 7 years. He died in Vietnam, and I found out that he died trying to save the life of his wingman. During
Hmm,
the course of my research, I learned a number of things, and I was told by the Air Force Historical Research Agency that the United States definitely started the war in Korea. Okay. Then during my research of my father's death, I found out that on the mission he was on was secret, and it was used to escalate the war in Vietnam.
Mm,
And I even
wow.
got I even got a copy of the meeting minutes by LBJ, or out of the LBJ library and the Joint Chiefs of Staff, where they sent these planes in, 26 from one base. Hold on, 20, no, 23 or 24 planes from the east, 23, 24 from the south, to strike at SAM sites they knew did not exist. And they told them to fly low and go slow so they would get shot down. And 7 planes were lost that day, and they used it to escalate the war. Yeah, right before, there was like 10,000 troops in Vietnam in 64. And then after this mission, 118,000 troops were sent, something like that. And yeah, and so I found all of that information out. And so they've kept it hidden, all this time. But they, and so 9/11 to me, I'm sorry, I think it was an inside job. And I was told that years ago, that it was our own military that planted C4 in the Twin Towers, and that's why they fell so quickly. And yeah, I think it was used to start another war. And so that's why I say we should all be given the right to vote on whether we go to war again or not, because you can't leave it up to the president. This is what I was told by someone who was apparently in the know, and he was pretty much run out of the country. He's no longer alive, but that's the information that he had given me a long time ago. And so,
Okay. What should the U.S. Senate do to ensure that the United States of America is self-reliant in food production, manufacturing, and energy, as it pertains to the U.S. general government? Now, the states have their own, they control their own internal affairs, but we're talking about interstate commerce and, foreign trade, things like that. What can the United States do?
Well, we need to reopen the Keystone Pipeline. There's no question. We need to be self-sufficient in all of these areas. We need to finish building the wall. We need to stop buying from China. I mean, I'm sorry, but they're even trying to buy up land in Kansas and Oklahoma. This is what I'm being told. They're trying to buy up big properties. I know this because my house was for sale, has 6 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms. And it's like they want to work out of large homes. And I'm like, okay, I'm not selling because, and if I am, elected, that is one of the things I want to require of anyone who enters this country. They should be made to sign a document that if they are found to engage in any treasonous activity, past, present, or future, they agree to be immediately deported. And so I want to keep our country, an American Christian nation. We have to do this. And so that's my main goal, I think.
Well, okay. I think we covered a lot. There's a whole lot of questions I would love to ask, but we have to put a time limit on this to make sure it's viewable. Are there any last words you would like to tell the viewers out there, what do you want them to know about you?
Well, I want to be more accessible than most politicians are at a high level. Abraham Lincoln had an open door policy. My attitude is, how can I serve you? What can I do to make your life better? And I'll be answering the phone. I'm not going to leave it. And I'm not to, staff members all the time. I'm going to answer it when I can. I'm not going to send out form letters, which, a lot of politicians do, especially senators and congressmen. And I just want to, that's what I did in my nonprofit work for so long. I always answer the phone 24/7 and to help people. And so I want them to know that.
Okay. Do you have a web page or a Facebook page, social media?
Yeah, I have all of those. And my website is joanfarr.com. It's just my name.
Okay.
And On Facebook, I'm Joan, middle initial E, Farr.
Okay, great. Well, Joan, thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome,
Uh,
Mark.
I know those were far out questions, but I felt like you could answer them. And those are the types of questions that I want to hear answers to, as a citizen of
Mhm.
my state. And I think they're important. They're questions that no one in mainstream is going to ask.
Mm-mm.
And a lot of candidates would not have answered most of those questions. So I admire you for just taking them on.
Well, be glad to. I enjoyed the conversation, Mark.
Yeah, it's good to get to know you a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, well, I wish you the best of luck in your
you.
primary
Thank you.
campaign and the results. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Tuesday, August the 2nd.
Mhm.
Go out and vote and make your decision, and make sure you're informed about the candidates. Your opponent is Jerry Moran.
Mhm. And you should tell people also that they can take their phones into the voting booth and they can look candidates up.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yes, you can. And so they should look up everyone that they really don't know much about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Okay, well, Joan, we're going to have to part ways. I
Okay.
appreciate it very much. God bless you.
God bless you. Thank you, Mark.
All right. Thanks.
Okay.
Bye-bye.